Hello and welcome to our daily sketching routine. It is Saturday, October 26, 2024, and today's topic will be close-up shots. Now, it'll be about drawing comics and panel layouts, stuff like that. But before we get into all of that, I want to welcome you. If you're returning, welcome back. If you're new, I sketch every day and I post every day, and then I set a 5-minute timer, which I'll go ahead and start now, and that acts as a way to focus and kind of like a practice, the daily sketching practice. So just to begin with, let me zoom in here. So I got a question asking about close-ups, and again, this topic of composition and storytelling and everything, I mean, it's an art form, and it's more of an art than a science, and there's just a lot of, there's a lot of history to it. There's not really like one way of doing it. It's infinite possibilities, and it's good to think of it as a language, so it evolves. It's not static. So with that said, here it is. So I did this yesterday because I was thinking about it and wanted to talk about it. So yeah, we talked about thumbnails, and so these are thumbnails, and I went even like smaller. I made the whole page into a thumbnail, and that's kind of what I mean. Like, you can, the smaller you can make the thumbnail and still know like what's going on, like the better, because it's just less what's the word, like low risk and quick. So here I created a page just kind of made up with a lot of panels. So that's the other thing, is like, what's the correct number of panels? There's not again, none of this there's no real formula to it. So there's basic ingredients, but you can make whatever you want with it. And at the end of the day, it's whatever is, like, well, with food, it's whatever tastes the best. So in this page, I just put, basically it's like a talking head kind of page where they're just talking, and it's between two different people. And so you can play around. Again, that's why it's good to just get used to doing these thumbnails, because you can alternate like and then like zoom in and out and stuff. So hopefully it's pretty self-explanatory. But one thing I did want to point out was that it does slow down time, so it has that. And I mean, movies are really good. They're not exact, so don't copy movies exactly is my recommendation, but I mean, there's definitely a lot of good things to learn from movies. Just like if movies copy comics exactly, then it doesn't make for a very good movie, and vice versa. Like if comics were exactly like movies, like why limit yourself since you have a limitless budget, so to speak. But one thing that is kind of similar is that if you have a bunch of people just kind of talking, like close-ups, like in a movie, it's the same way, where it slows the time down. Like, so if there's a bunch of stuff happening, so an example would be this thumbnail that I did for like the third page of my test comic. Here there's not much talking, it's just kind of moving. It's mostly about action. But if you throw in like this one's kind of, I did this sort of to be kind of funny or just to like show an example. So for example, let's say you had, this was the 3rd page, so I'm basically working on a 4-page comic just to test like the look and everything. So you had this kind of action-y thing, just a bunch of action and poses and fighting, and then you go to the, let's say this was the 4th page, and then so notice how it just kind of stopped all that action. Now it's just, they could be talking or it's just expressions or whatever. And I did this to sort of exaggerate the example. So that's 5 minutes. So if you're just wanting to start a 5-minute sketching habit, that's, you can stop there. I'm going to start another 5 minutes. What was I saying? Yeah, I just did this kind of to exaggerate to illustrate what I mean, how it just slowed everything down, which might be what you want. But I probably wouldn't go with this unless I just had like a bunch of stuff like the characters were saying. So there's that. So yeah, I mean, it's, you can mix and match, like intersperse. Again, it's more of an art form, but I was going to talk about this in just a second here, but just kind of going back to this. So in this one, it's not related to the comic I'm working on right now, but notice how, so the heads are talking back and forth, but you don't even realize. So at the end, I just kind of, this one, so let's count the panels. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then the big panel 10. And the way you lay it out is kind of up to you. I mean, you just read a lot of comics and just come up with your own ideas and stuff. But in these little panels where they're talking, you don't even really know that they're on horseback. And then when you get to this last panel, which is the background panel, or one big panel, then you see that they are on horseback, like in a forest. So you can see how it's not like a movie, because there's the drawing element, the composition, the medium is different. So hopefully that kind of gave you some ideas. It's really about ideas. These are not rules. Just like with this one, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 panels. I mean, it doesn't have to be. But I did want to go over this real quick, because this sort of plays into, so there's elements of composition, there's storytelling, and then there's like pacing. So let's just look at kind of the same thing, but yeah, like composed differently. So in this one, we have one character attacking the other, and then we have a second panel with a gutter, as it's called, like a separation here, and then the character, but then, so it's like one picture, but then the same character doing two different things separated by a gutter. Now compare that to, like, I'll show you the page I'm working on right now. Compare that to this, and notice how it's the same idea, like they're doing the same thing, but this one looks animated, but then also the panel shape itself affects things. It's just something to kind of think about. Again, it's a language, so it's not like there's certain words, or let's say like visual language, that you may or may not get. And it also depends on the direction that you're reading it. So I tend to be like Western comics, because that's what I know about. So, and that's what I'm creating for. So it's going to be left to right. So there's that. So here's my, let me zoom out. So here's page 2 of my test comic. So I'll just kind of talk about this for a while. I didn't have thumbnails, so on the first page, so that's 5 minutes, I'll start another one. I just started drawing it, and then it turned into like a little mini comic. And so on this page, and in the future, I'm not going to just keep them in a sketchbook. I'll have them on loose paper, but just for now. On this page, I just went in and sketched in the page, didn't thumbnail it, and didn't look at reference. I just went off of that first page that I did, which is this one, because I know that sometimes this might be your first video of mine. But basically I post every day, so it tends to be in some kind of chronological order. So this one was just a fun picture that I just drew out of imagination just to do it, which turned into a comic. Again, just drawn out of imagination, not laying it out or anything, and just doing this. And I liked it, and I thought, okay, well, let's see where I can go with this, because I do want to actually draw some comics, even though really my big goal is to write novels. And so for the second page, which is this one, I actually just drew everything, again, just from imagination, because that's like a thing that I'm working on and that I like, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But so in some ways it was planned out, but like not thumbnailed. So there was that. And then this one is the third page, and I thumbnailed it, and I like it because since it's just an experiment, I'm not going to like redo a bunch of thumbnails. But if I were, I would do them pretty small like this, just to like, and then maybe a little bit bigger, just whatever works. I'm just kind of going over my thought process, because if it's a bigger project, then yeah, I mean, you want to plan it out a little bit more. But going back to what I was saying about like just drawing it in, I like this. Like, I like just drawing it in, and this is again something that I'm working on, but also kind of a preference, because I feel like if I pencil it, it would just slow me down. And then the other thing is, I know I'm going to like put this into the computer and clean it up and format it like on a page, on a template on the computer, and so then I know I can fix stuff. So the point is that for me, it really is about the freshness and like the spontaneity of it and the life of it. And the more you plan everything out too much, the more life you like take out of it, the more stiff like your artwork becomes. And then also I think that I probably would color it. I may not. I mean, like with something like this, I don't have to color it. I mean, I feel like it works. So again, it's just an experiment, and the work will tell you what it needs to be. So yeah, from here, and I don't have any dialogue or anything, so that's like another thing too. It's a whole nother topic, and a lot of these things are I I said before, and just in general, I'm not an expert at any of this. I just do this. I just have experience, but it's not. This is not like academics or anything. So I think that's pretty good. I mean, the other thing, just to kind of wrap up this video, I mean, I know I didn't really sketch anything, so just to sketch something, just to not cheat, just so you can like see, I guess. So like if I have something, so one thing I did mention was that I like to kind of keep everything sort of going at the same spot, and like to step away. So for example, like with a pose like this, like if I don't know the exact details, but I probably would put like her hand right here. Like that. And then sometimes like the pose will sort of, that's 5 minutes, I'll wrap it up. I'll start another 5-minute timer. Like the picture and the drawing will sort of, like it'll come to you as you're just kind of like looking at it, but that's kind of a key component of drawing from imagination, where you don't force anything. Because you're relying on imagination, you're relying on memory and like the picture itself to tell you. And that's where a lot of the fun, the interest is coming out of, like the picture itself is telling you what it should look like. And so I find that more interesting, and it's just something that I can tell, like when I'm looking at people's works. I mean, I can see what they're doing. So that's one thing. So I sketched, so I kept it honest, because that's ultimately, I mean, I don't always know what I'm gonna make a video about, since it is every day, but I just know I'm gonna sketch every day, and so it's turning into like projects, like, and this is important too. That's kind of the other thing I wanted to say was, one, it's kind of good to get like a prototype going so you have something to look at. Also, I am writing a book series, so this is concept art in a way, but it's also an interesting storytelling, like it's a comic book. So I think that was everything I wanted to talk about. I think so. But yeah, as I wrap up this video, I mean, thanks for joining me. The channel is growing, and that's great. But yeah, I think I wanted to point out that like the main thing is the daily sketching routine is always sort of my what I come back to when in doubt. So with that said, thanks for joining me today. Thanks for supporting the channel, and until next time, keep on sketching.